Hi, everyone. Very good afternoon to you all. I hope I can be heard clearly. So, can I just get a response from maybe that the panelists? Can I be heard clearly?
Hi, Sachindra. I can hear you well.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Alan. So, once again, good afternoon to you. And it's a pleasure to be moderating the panel on a very pertinent topic on us being aware and being safe on this new realm of digital. So it's my privilege to introduce my wonderful panelists who will be switching on their videos right now. Um, so I guess we are all logging in from some from home, some from our workplaces. As you see, mine is my workplace. So please don't bother on what you see behind me. There might be people walking in and trying to uh, tap my head then. So please bear with us. That's the new norm. Sometimes new norm is also working from office for some of us. So let me start first introducing our panelists. I will first start with our rose among the daffodils, which is our own Dalan from SLCert, and he's a Red Hat certified system administrator and also a certified ethical hacker. He's representing CERT on this panel, having more than 6 years of experience in the information security field. At CERT, he is currently involved in incident response, performing vulnerability assessments and pen testing for both network and applications, also working with security policy development and awareness activities around the country, especially on the EduCert and various other initiatives where awareness is created among the general public. Next, I will introduce Tanushi Disanayaka. Tanushi is an attorney at law by profession who has been practicing as a corporate lawyer since 2014 in the banking sector and financial services and manufacturing in Staffordshire University. She is currently working as a legal officer at ICTA and is actively taking part in various advisory services, assisting the General Counsel in drafting and implementation of legal reforms in relation to ICT laws and regulations, including cybersecurity and data protection. And we're happy to have Anushi and both Dayalan on this panel representing CERT and ICTA. Next, I would introduce Archana from Cisco. She is a cybersecurity evangelist with over 14 years of experience, also a certified chief information security officer. An interesting fact is that she mentors a nonprofit community called Women in Cybersecurity and Privacy. And she brings in a lot of experience working at grassroots level, working with various communities as her role at Cisco. And she will have a lot of interesting things to share in taking up a role of cybersecurity as a career. And least but not least, we have Beatrice, who's joining us from Citi. She is the Cyber Intelligence Center Regional Lead at Citibank. Can we have Beatrice's slide on, please? Thank you. She has a very interesting profile. Um, and as a former police commissioner of the state police in Brazil, and also a former cybercrime intelligence officer at Interpol in Singapore, with more than 16 years of experience in intelligence and successful investigations related to cyber threats, cybercrime, cyber-enabled crime, complex frauds, financial and organized crime. I'm very interested and to hear what she has to say in terms of various things that she has been involved in solving, especially cross-border. So excited, I think more than the participants to hear what Beatrice has to say. Um, so, guys, thank you for joining in at this time in the afternoon, especially, and hope we are able to keep you engaged. So, in terms of giving a crux of what we're going to discuss in the next, I would say, 40 minutes, we will delve into we will also talk about legislation and organizations which help people be safe in this digital realm, and also who do you go to, what kind of legislature can protect you if something bad happens in this realm, and what kind of legislator would really uh, would put people into call people into justice. We will also think about what the cybersecurity area of work is like as a career. What will it be like? What kind of path can you take to become a cybersecurity professional? And finally, the most interesting parts, what kind of cybercrime scenarios have taken place in the world, especially with Beatrice, some of the cross border related cybercrime, and what kind of precautions, what kind of work has been carried out in catching these criminals all over the world. So without further ado, let me pass the podium on to Thailand as a start, where I would like Thailand to share, especially bringing a foundation to this entire topic of being a digital citizen and how you can be conscious in this new realm about your data, about your privacy, about your security. Over to you, Thailand.
Thanks, Sachindra. Sorry, I hope everyone could hear me. Thank you for the lovely introduction. So we're here to discuss about building a a safe digital space. What strikes me is that being consciousness now. How conscious are we when we are on the online world? When you're accessing on the internet, or it can be doing any sort of activities that connects us with the internet. Are we being conscious, right? So that's something that I want all of us to think, because when we look at our offline world, when I say what's an offline world, it's a world where we interact without having access to the internet, any activities that we get involved in, but without the internet. It can be, for example, let's say that you get threatened by someone walking on the street. What generally we would do is walk up to the police station, or get assistance. We shout out, we speak to someone, we do that. Okay, let's say we have some documents on our lockers. We always make sure we take it as and when we want, and we put it back, and we make sure we lock it and keep the keys safe, right? We don't write down where the key is, or we don't share it with others. This is what we do in our offline world, right? Or else someone walks to us, a stranger, asking for some personal information. We don't give it away, right? Do we? We don't. We just keep it to ourselves, because we know that, okay, I don't know this person, I'm not sure, I'm not supposed to share. So we are being conscious in our physical world. But is that happening in our online world? Something that I want everyone to think. Okay, for example, now taking talking about the online world. Now sometimes we walk up to the cafe, right? We don't think where we are, but then we just start accessing very confidential things. It can be your emails, it can be online banking, and sometimes we forget to log out on the online platform. Something we forget, right? So sometimes talking to strangers online, and we don't realize, but we give away our information, right? Okay, but thinking about the offline world, we don't. But when it comes to the online world, I don't know how we try to differentiate that, but we just forget, and we tend to give out this information. And sometimes we get bullied online, right? You get harassed. There's a lot of things that happens, but sometimes we don't open up. Why is that? Right? Is that because we're not being conscious? Is that because in the physical world we have someone to speak to? Right? It's just so something that I want everyone to think about. So my conclusion here is that I want everyone to think that uh, being online is no different to offline. It's just that your physical presence is not there, right? But we got to be practicing the same things that we do in our offline world in our online world, then things will be fine. Now, if you can, for example, destroy your personal some sort of a document, if you want to burn it off, why can't you do that with the online world? Why can't you make sure that document is be deleted, right, in a proper manner, right? So when you're being harassed offline, if you can approach someone, if you can tell the police, why can you not do that when that happens to you in the online world? Simple as that, right? So it's just about things that we need to practice. So with that, yeah, that's just my opening remark on this.
Thank you, Dalan. And I will come back to you on the next round with a few questions, noting it down. So Dalan set the stage in on to what we are going to discuss, especially bringing in the aspects of bringing in what we do in the physical world onto the digital world, and contextually bringing it, but also bringing in that consciousness that we have in our physical world. Why shouldn't we transfer that into the digital world itself? Next, I would like to pose a question to Tanushi, and especially on the area of legislation, and what does legislation provide for the protection of victims, and also what kind of enforcement does it allow for the culprits through the law? Tanushi, over to you.
Hi everyone, good evening. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Tanushi, maybe you can speak a bit more louder.
Okay. Can
Thank you.
everyone hear me now?
Much better.
Yeah, okay. So, good evening, everyone. My role today is to provide awareness on the current legislative framework and the laws and regulations which are applicable in Sri Lanka, which we can use to bring offenders of cybercrimes into justice, and on what are the ways that we can protect ourselves against these actions. Especially my actually the research was predominantly based on the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic that we are all facing right now, because the digital technology and the cyberspace was always used by us even before the pandemic came into operation. It has been there for more than 2 decades now, but with the COVID pandemic, the usage of digital space to do everyday activities has rapidly increased, and it has basically let our defenses down, because we have we have depended on the cyberspace to do certain activities that we would do usually we would do physically, like marketing, or to sell items, or basically buy everyday items, or maybe interaction and working. Especially those things are very much new to us, even though we now identify it as the new normal. But the doing this using this cyber platform to do our everyday work and studies and business, this has made us more reliant on the digital space, and has also put our defenses down, so that we have become vulnerable to the world, to the cyber space, which consists of many great things that we cannot even imagine about. So during the COVID pandemic season, it has been said in research that the cyber attacks have rapidly increased, and mainly businesses and individuals are facing cyberbullying and cyber security issues, and other hacking issues. Everything is happening during for the last 1 year after the COVID pandemic came into place. So actually, other than the virus taking on the lives and harming people, and creating a deadly virus among the globe, this will be taken as collateral damage which we have faced when our privacy and data is at risk. So as Sri Lankans, where do we stand in cybercrimes, and how do we protect ourselves? So if you look at the cybercrime landscape in Sri Lanka, this is largely inspired by the Budapest Convention. So this Budapest Convention, for those of you who don't know about it, this is the first international treaty which addresses internet and computer crimes, and this gives a common set of guidelines and laws which can be applied by nations who are signatories to this convention, so that they can adopt these laws into their own national laws and regulations. So we, being the first in South Asia and the second country in Asia to become a signatory to this Budapest Convention, we have the Computer Crimes Act number 24 of 2007, which governs a large number of computer crimes. So when I say computer crimes, it is not exactly computer per se, because the definition which is given out in the Computer Crimes Act speaks about electronic or similar device having information processing capabilities. So even though it says computer crimes, we can always relate it and extend it to the information which are processed through tabs, iPads, cell phones, smartphones. So even though this is, the title only says computer crimes, this covers a wide range of actions and crimes which can be done through technology means. So if I just briefly explain the protection that is that we have under this act specifically, this act refers to many types of offenses where we can take action against. One is, as we all know, hacking, which has been a very important and very dangerous activity which has happened during the recent times. Even most governments are affected by illegal hacking. So this is covered under the the Computer Crimes Act. And also this talks about other offenses such as unlawful modification and especially offenses against national security, where if I specifically talk about the ways where individuals can be affected, and what are the ways and means that we as individuals we can take action against. One such is under section 7, where it has prevented unlawfully obtaining data. So under this act, buying, receiving and retaining, selling, offering to buy, downloading, uploading any information, any data, that can be taken as an offense under this act. And the most important thing about this is that this is a strict liability offense. That is, in legal terms, you do not have to prove any intention. Even if the person did not have any intention of extracting those information and using it for illegal means, still the very fact that that person extracted data unlawfully will be sufficient enough to take an action against that person. And also there are other specific information that cannot be obtained illegally, especially if you look at the definition given under the Computer Crimes Act relating to information. It says data, text, images, sound, codes, computer programs, databases, or microfilm. So which means that whoever has gained unlawful access to your computer or the information processing device and has extracted information which can be data or images or sounds, that can be taken as an offense under this act. So what is most important, I would like to highlight under this act, is the fact that we have some of the crimes have strict liability. And the most important thing I would like to highlight is the fact that if all of these offenses, if we file an action and the perpetrators are proven guilty, they can be fined from up to 100,000 to 300,000 rupees. And all on top of that, they can even be imprisoned for up to 3 years. This can be even taken together, a fine and an imprisonment, but you can also take it differently. But what I want to highlight is the fact that in relation to the other laws and regulations that we have in Sri Lanka, like for example, the penal code, which is only which was enacted in the 1800s, and the fines are very much less, and it does not they are not in par with the current the payment methods, and it is not actually enough. But the Computer Crimes Act, being enacted in 2006, has provided that sufficient fines are in place, and it has enabled the imprisonment, which can happen up to 3 years as well. So what is important is that under the provisions of this act, it has been provided that there are methods of investigations which can be carried out, and during this investigation, especially if there are experts and police officers and any public officers are exposed to confidential information, then they have a right to protect those information, and if they breach that, that can also be an offense under this act. So if you are at any point if your information, or if you filed an action in police, and if that information has been exposed to some other party without your consent, then of course you can file an action under this act. And also I would like to talk about certain issues in implementation, because being a signatory to the Budapest Convention, like I mentioned earlier, we have been one of the first few countries who have a technology inspired laws and regulations in place, and especially in legal terms, those can be identified as technology neutral laws, which means that whatever the laws that we implement today can be used in the future, because you have the technology is always revolving and changing, and we need to always make sure that the laws are in place to facilitate any outcome. So, being a country who was one of the first few signatories to the Budapest Convention, we have many laws and regulations in place. Now we have the Computer Crimes Act, we have Payment Devices Frauds Act, which specifically talks about offences relating to use of credit cards and debit cards, and applications which are used to make payments. And the penal code amendments, which happened very recently, talk about issues relating to indecent images of children, which is child pornography, as explained in the Budapest Convention. So, and on top of it, we also have made amendments to the Mutual Assistance in Criminal Matters Act, which keeps us in par with in the international community, where we can even take the international support in taking any action against cybercrimes, because then because of the connection and the coordination that we have in the international community, we are also in par with the global cyber security and the computer crimes landscape, which puts us in an advantageous situation in comparison with a lot of other countries, especially in our region. But the fact that we still have a large number of computer crimes happening in Sri Lanka, many of which are not even being reported. And the other issue is that we don't have enough case laws in place for the judges to make decisions and to give their interpretations on some of the gray areas in the acts. That Lanka as much as we would like, because even though we have all the laws and regulations in place, the implementation is not exactly in a very positive situation, I must say, because
Anushi,
people
can I
are
pause you for a bit?
reluctant to go to police against these type. Yeah, sure.
So I think you've been very comprehensive in terms of laying out what the legislature which is out there, and also you got into a bit on implementation as well. I
Mhm.
would want to take some of it in this next round, and then especially because we're
Sure.
sorry, the host is asking me to start the video. My network is a bit faulty. Therefore, give me a second. Sorry. Um, so I would want to move into the I would say the more action-oriented part of this conversation. So for the participants, as you will know, this theme of the conference is leadership, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And therefore, whatever that we discuss here is meant to be shared. It's meant to be used for action. It's not only for knowledge. So in the first two speakers, both Alan and Tanushi elaborated on being conscious about the surroundings, being conscious in this digital world, and also while being conscious, what are the legislator that protects us? What is the legislator that convicts criminals in this virtual world? So while we know this, it doesn't stop there. The action that we put across is through our leadership is could maybe where you instigate this, where you evangelize. We'll be coming to cybersecurity evangelist next. So where you evangelize.
Sure, Sachindra. So, can I just get a thumbs up, like if I'm audible, because there's on and off, there is a bandwidth issue in my home as well. So just let me know if I'm audible. Okay, sure. Thanks. Okay, so I think I got Sachindra
So
frozen.
he's
So you
getting
have,
into the domain of cybersecurity as a professional, fixing some of these issues, like some of them who are on this panel have been doing. They'll be walking the talk. And also, how do you get into the space of an entrepreneurial venture through innovation? How do you create products? How do you create software? How do you create solutions to solve some of these problems? So we will get into this space now. So put on your hat where if you were always thinking, so this is someone else's problem, let someone else or the government, solve these things. This is the time that you put on the hat. No, I'm the person who has to take the choice of being the solution to the problem. So over to you, Archana.
yeah. So I think I'm audible, right? I got in between frozen audio, so I got probably got a little bit of your question, miss. But just to understand, so the thoughts is around the question is around entrepreneurial ventures, right? Just to get it right.
Entrepreneurial ventures and
Ventures, yes.
also cybersecurity as a career. But before
Okay.
that, what do you
Mm.
mean by cybersecurity evangelist?
Okay, so that's a great question, Sachindra. So maybe bit because you already introduced me a lot, right? So I've been into this industry for past 14 years, right? And last 9 years I've been serving for Cisco in terms of protecting their digital assets. Out of this 14 years, what I learned is like I find more passion in terms of reaching this awareness of cybersecurity among a lot of students and the uh, you know the next generation of set who is going to take the cybersecurity world. So that's where my hunting basically started. I wanted to talk about so much about cybersecurity, reach out to the start from your students to graduates and everybody around. So that's what I would say, evangelist. I started hunting like the way we use threat hunting as a jargon. That was my hunting towards finding out, figuring it out, who are the passionates, bring them all together so that they could be setting the next generation of cybersecurity all to the world. So that's a little bit about what does evangelist basically means. And I think let me just, is it okay? Shall we begin with the career moment? If that's fine, Sachindra, let's. Okay, I see Sachindra getting frozen. So let me just begin with the career movements of basically in the cybersecurity world. That's one of my interesting question. Before we actually jump into the entrepreneurial ventures, right? See, as Tanushi and Dayalan were actually talking, setting the stage about so much is there in the cybersecurity world, so much is there in digitization world, right? So the advancements in the digitization is exponentially increasing, and I would say COVID has just fast tracked that, right? Now on other side of it, there is when there is an advancement in technology, there's also that something that we have to give a trade off, which is that the cyber threats, right? The cyber threats have also kind of exponentially increased. Now, when it comes to individual, as a student or a graduate, you could be anybody, even if it's a, could be somebody of 12 or 15 years of age, or could be somebody undergraduates, postgraduates. I always find when I talk to this as a community, we as when we came out of a college, we always call something called dream company. We always have some dream company, right? Somebody would say, I want to join as a Google. Somebody will say, I want to join Cisco. If somebody says, I want to join Amazon, right? So that's a dream company that we always wish for, right? But I would say, if today in this stage, if you're all hearing, if you are going to take up a cybersecurity as a job role, or whatever, as a role or as a career, you will all be in the gold mine. I would say they're all in the sweet spot and the gold mine. The reason why I say is, the cyber attacks that we have been talking about so much is not just about these big enterprise companies, right? It's not just Google is worried about, it's not just Amazon is worried about, or name it, anybody, WhatsApp, Uber, anybody, be the matter. Today every sector in the cybersecurity world is kind of, getting worried about this data breaches. For an instant, when I say sectors, basically, what do you mean by sectors? It's like your healthcare sector, your manufacturing sector, industrial sector, no, but your defense sector as well, right? So cybersecurity, if you look today, you can figure it out what is your passion. Because, as an individual, I was very passionate to become a doctor, but I never unfortunately became a doctor. I was a cybersecurity because I don't like to see the blood and all something. But I don't know how did I land up cybersecurity. But fortunately, I see there is a health sector which is demanding for the cybersecurity role. So probably somewhere in the future, I might be joining some. There's a health sector. So you guys are in a sweet spot. Figure it out which sector you want as a first. If it's something that you want to be in a defense, figure it out. We have cybersecurity role. There is definitely at least one role opening for you, which will be either as a SOC analyst, or it could be anything, right? So figure it out. Every sectors, even if you want to serve a navy, I will say there's a cybersecurity team sitting there who wants to do it. So that's the sweetest thing about cybersecurity as a profession. Okay. And next, when I talk about that, as an individual, right, when we come out of, let's say you got a job, let's figure it out. It's a healthcare sector that you would like to serve, and you got inside the job. Once you get inside job, then it becomes a very thing that the roles and responsibility that somebody is giving me is something that is of my passion. So that comes the next question. Maybe for the 1 month and 1 year, we will be silent enough because we have to get the job. And after that, it becomes, is this my passion? Right. So next question comes something in my mind. So what as an individual could you do, as if something has to meet your passion? Right now, there are two aspects to it. When you say as a passion, now among you, some of you could be somebody who wants to take a technical career path. Somebody wants a geek and techie. I want to be an ethical hacker. I want to be something like that. So if you are somebody who wants to be a techie kind of a person, then I would say there are ample amount of opportunity. At least 50 plus job titles are available for you. Name it anything, any advancement in technology, IoT engineer, privacy analyst. If you want to be something like me, I'm right now in security operations center. You could think about being a SOC analyst, investigators, a forensic expert. Now, what is the role of all of these people? Is basically, it's very interesting because it'll never keep you boring, because all the day the challenges is new. You have to always detect the threat, mitigate the threat, protect the threat. Okay, so that's very interesting. If you're a techie, think about it, because this is not going to be a day job. Today what you work on an attack, tomorrow there's something else as an attack. So that is going to be, the another nice thing about it is, as a career, when we join in, right, we say that, oh, 2 years of my job, now I'm kind of bored, I want to do something else. Cybersecurity is again an option, because 2 years you can be on one skill. Okay, you want to learn ethical hacking, learn the first 2 years of ethical hacking. The next year you want to be a forensic expert, you could do that, because it's a wide opportunity, right? Because as a cybersecurity profession, we need multitude of skills. It's not just one skill. When a data breach happens for an organization, do you think it's only one security team who kinds of work? No, it's not the answer. Right from your help desk to all to the CISO level, your technical teams, each possess a different skills. We need all together to come as one team, right? So that's something that I would talk about when you want to take up as technical as a career. And it doesn't end there. Okay, for somebody who is a non-technical career, again, this is a passion that you can think about. If let's say, even if you're a normal graphic designer, or if you are somebody who likes to do animated videos, or it could be something like that, you have cybersecurity. Don't think about it. You will think, what am I going to do in a cybersecurity world? I'm just an animator. I create a videos. Look, there is a lot of awareness to be created in this field. So we need a creative people to sit and kind of do the contents. We need people who are very creative in writing, because you have to bring that influence in the pictures. You need to bring that influence in your graphic designing. So we do have opening in the enterprise you go. We will have an awareness and training team sitting who you could participate and kind of, showcase your skills. So it's not just always, usually because people think moment they hear cybersecurity, so, oh, this is not my bucket, because they think it's all about I have to learn programming, hacking. No, it's not that. You can think about this as well. And last but not the least, because I'm very much working towards a lot of communities, especially the students. I see a lot of opportunity even for the lecturers here, because most often I get questions from the lecturers and the teachers who are there in the community. They say that, I understand you are from Cisco, you're from a bigger enterprise, can I join your company? I would say yes. There's nothing like, you cannot do it. Reason, because you, as the lecturers and the teachers, you are the fundamental base that you're building it, right? Because there is a lot of every single nation is kind of, even if India is kind of building up the skilling sets of cybersecurity. So we have an intense curriculum that is we are working towards. Every nation is working towards that curriculum to make the next generation ready for the cybersecurity. So as a curriculum, there is a lot, because teachers have to be the fundamentals before the, they complete your graduations or undergraduates. So I would say, even if there's any lecturers or trainers in this call, in this meeting, then probably, you should also think about taking this as a choice. So yeah, so that's something that I would say in a nutshell. Cyber security, I always like this proverb. I don't know, it was from some CISO that I kind of liked it. It says cybersecurity is one such profession where you find every job inside it, right? So earlier gone are the days that you want to be just IT company and kind of a thing, but now the doors are all open for you. Yeah, so that's something that as a career choice that somebody wants to take. So over to you, Sachindra. Would you like to
Thank
address
you.
the next thing? Yeah.
Thank you, Ashita.
Yeah.
I think I will pause you there. I think you've done your evangelist role perfectly. And if this wasn't a pitch good enough, I don't know what is. Um, so if you're pitching a startup right now, I would have invested on you. So hopefully the participants who are listening would now be thinking, at least Googling and trying to figure out what is my next step into getting into a career in cybersecurity. So well done on that. So we're about, I think we're about 20, 25 minutes more. And so last but not least, we are embarking on a professional who has more than 16 years of experience in various domains. And as I said, I was very intrigued to listen to you, Beatrice. And what I've asked Beatrice is to share some of, through her extensive experience, especially on cross-border related cybercrime, some interesting cases on how the different countries cooperated through this, cooperated to bring the culprits to justice. So when she talks about it, you can think of this as a cybercrime related movie, because for me, it is exactly what it would be like, cross-border cybercrime, Interpol coming in. And so try to imagine what she's going to say. Over to you, Beatrice.
Thank you, Sachindra. So I'm super excited for being here today, uh, especially after listening to all these brilliant talks from my colleagues here in the panel. So, and then I was thinking, what I will say, right? Because you are so brilliant. So yes, I want to start with what Archana just said, because to be in cybersecurity, we need to have passion. So we need to have what we call grit, that is passion and perseverance, because one day is always different from the day before. And we need to understand how our skills will be applied to that reality that is always changing, right? So this is applicable to police, where I originally come from, and also to private sector, where I am now in Citibank, right? So talking about police, I spent 16 years in police in Brazil and then in Interpol. And when I came to Singapore to join Interpol, I was the first female cybercrime intelligence officer in the world. Then I thought, wow, this is great, right? Because we can open door to another woman who want to make it his career path. But also was very challenging, because I needed to understand how to work in a multicultural environment and how to see the big picture. Because when I was in Brazil, I was seeing the full picture of my country, right? But when you move to a global position or a regional position, you need to understand the different legislation, the different kind of cooperation, the different technical level of the police and the judicial system to process, to work in that case, right? So this was very important for me when I joined Interpol, was to learn. And then as intelligence officer, we decided to have two kinds of operation in our region. One was for awareness and mitigation. So I was reading, I can tell this now because it's public already, right? I was reading some tweets and I saw cryptojacking. And then I said, what's this? This was back in 2018. Then I saw that threat actors, is how we call the bad actors, right? The cyber criminals, they were infecting routers. So all the computers connected to that routers were mining cryptocurrency for the threat actor. What means they were literally creating digital money through mining using other people resources. And so we had the first question, so this is crime. Who is the victim? Because in some countries, this could be crime, but other countries, not crime. So this was our first question. And then how to identify the infected routers? So we decided to take action because in our region in Asia, we had a lot of routers infected. And then we promoted a meeting in Singapore with some stakeholders to teach them how to identify the compromised routers and how to clean the compromised routers, and also how to bring awareness to the population. Why? Because the patch, what means the fix to that router to not be vulnerable anymore, was released year before, but people still not patch. So we need to tell people, please patch. And this is one advice that I give, going back to what Diana said in the beginning. You need to understand that in the cyberspace, we have risks. Sometimes the same risk that you have in the real world. So we need to understand and protect ourselves. So one of the big tips that we do is have good antivirus installed in your machine, patch your systems, and take care of your passwords and personal information, not expose. And also for students as well, we always tell, be careful with your self-generated content, because sometimes that image or that thing that you wrote or that picture you took can be used against you, will not be seen only by the person who you want to see it. So just be careful with what you are putting, what is your digital footprint, because after you publish, you can not control anymore. And going back to the police operations, because I know you want to hear, so we did one second one police operation while in Interpol. So we identified that threat actors, the cyber criminals, were trying to get the card data. So how they were doing this? It's easier than in fact the machine in a shop. They start to do this online. So they start to infect their websites, their e-commerce websites. And then in Interpol, in partnership with private sector companies, we identified these compromised websites. And then we did the intelligence and communicate to some police in the country that were affected. And last year, the Indonesia police could arrest 3 of them, and was the first type of this arrest in our region. So it was very interesting. These guys, they were collecting card data, intercepting when a person was doing a buy online, buying something, shopping online, and then when you put your information, was directly redirected to the threat actor's website. So we could do this operation as well, and also take down the website that they were maintaining to receive this stolen credit card data. So it was another very interesting operation. And again, we need to understand the legislation, the cooperation with the judicial system, police to police, and the role of international organizations such as Interpol to do this kind of investigations. And now in private sector, we're still taking care of the cyberspace. You can think, just about the bank. No, we are always concerned about the whole financial ecosystem. So how we do this? If we identify a threat, we communicate with each other. We share information, we share intelligence. We are very well connected with our peers, with CERT communities. So this also is the reason I'm loving to be here, because I've made new friends. So if I see something related to Sri Lanka, we'll talk very fast and keep in touch. And this is the power of networking. So I also advise my future colleagues in cybersecurity to have a strong network made by diverse people from all over the region, of the world, because the intelligence and the professional network is strong, as are your professional network as well, what we call social capital. This is all from me. Anything else? Sashindra?
Looks like you've lost
I'm
him.
back. I'm back.
You're there.
It's good.
Sorry about.
Yeah, because I speak
So
so
I'm
fast,
sorry I lost
so
what you said.
maybe you have any doubts, and then I can.
So I will
reply.
come back to you, Beatrice, on the next round. There are some questions which have come up. Thank you again for sharing. And I think most important thing what I took out from there for others to also note is the collaboration between countries, and that cyber or resolving cybercrime, or how we bring criminals into justice is not even a one. It's not definitely a one man show. It's a work of a team. It's not even work of a team. It's work of countries. It's cross border collaboration. It's networks, as Beatrice shared, and tying up to what Hanushi mentioned, the Budapest Cybercrime Convention is one of those conventions which brings different countries on board to be able to share this kind of information. If there was no convention, there won't be a protocol to share such information. And this makes it able for especially something like cybercrime, which doesn't have a place, doesn't have a country. Cyber criminals are all over, and they can they can enact their crime in any part of the world. So that's the difference between the physical crime that gets committed and the digital related crimes that get committed. So thank you for shedding light on those areas, Beatrice. There's a question which has come on the Q&A, and participants, you can pose questions now. We have about, I would say, 10 minutes more. Administrators, please correct me if there is more time. I'm taking it as 10 minutes for Q&A. So I'll first pose the question which has come on Q&A to maybe to Dayalan. This is coming from Safran. And Dayalan, while you answer this question, okay, I'm given 15 minutes maximum. Thank you for the additional 5 minutes. So Dayalan, while you answer this question, can you also mention other organizations which are there in Sri Lanka for people to contact if they face any problem in the digital space? So while you mentioned that, the question is, how do you how to find who is running a fake Facebook? Think this could be account or a page. How do you figure out if it's a fake Facebook account or a page? Dalan?
Hi, I'll be quick. So the organizations that you get in touch, in case you come across any problems in Sri Lanka, for example, if you're under the age of 18, you can always approach NCPA, the National Child Protection Authority. They'll be more than willing to help you. You can get in touch with Women and Child Bureau in Sri Lanka. It's under the ministry. You can get in touch with them. You can speak to the local police. They're always there to support you. There are a lot of NGOs, example, Women in Need, who are willing to support again if you're being cyberbullied online. You can, yes, get in touch with CERT if there's anything that we can assist you technically. So these are the organizations that I can think of at the moment who you can get in touch if you are facing any problem. And top of that, if you're being cyberbullied online, something that I want you to think is that Google it. See what the platforms have given you, because most of these platforms have given you options where you can take measures to prevent and to protect yourself. So look into those options and make sure you apply them, right? And then seek out and speak to someone, and do not hold it for yourself. That's important. And if you want, the question was about a fake account, so getting straight to the point. So I think to find out how to find out or who's the person behind the fake account, is that right, Sachindra?
Sorry, Dalan, did you finish
it
asking the question?
okay, now what I want to ask you is, the question was about how to find out the person, or to see who the person behind the account is. That what?
Yeah, so what the person is asking, what Safran is asking, is how to find out who is running
Right.
fake Facebook. Maybe, Alan, would you want? Sorry, Safran, do you want to ask this live?
Okay, so what I understand is that if you want to
You can
see
ask
if
it.
there's a fake account, or can be any account, and if you actually want to find out who the person is, obviously, who's running the fake account, it has to be done in a legal manner. So, which is again, getting those information from Facebook. Now, for example, that has to be done through the police. For example, those information will only be shared through the police, So anyone who has sort of who's been bullied on a on a on a on a fake account, they can report to the police, and hopefully the police will get in touch with Facebook, follow the procedure, get those information if they're willing to, and that is how you could possibly identify the person behind in the right manner.
Dalan,
Thank you.
could you also mention, could you also explain how do you identify a fake account in the first place?
Right, sure. Now, I mean, looking at the activities of the account, that will give you a clear idea. Now, looking at fake accounts, you will not see specifically not related to one person. They'll be having random things, and you know for a fact. I mean, it's very looking at the activities and just going through the content. It'll make it easier for you to understand. I mean, also you will not have information of some individual, right? So that sort of thing that you would see, and just random things, not related to one person in particular. So that literally helps you to understand whether it's a fake account or not.
Thanks, Dalan. Tanushi, would you
Sachindra,
like to add something?
yes, I would like to add to what the Alan has been mentioning about. First thing I would like to state is that in the crime investigation department of Sri Lanka Police, there's a different division which is specialized on cybercrime. So there's a cybercrime division attached to the CID of Sri Lanka Police where you can lodge your complaints, and rather than going to your regional police station where the police officers may not have the necessary expertise or the knowledge to deal with such information or such complaint, this will be a great platform for you to address your issues and to make a quick take a quick solution and to get an forward. And also about the identifying fake Facebook accounts, it is I know that it is not my area, but just something that I would like to add based on the experience, the personal experiences that I have had, and being a user myself, is the what I have noticed is that most of these fake Facebook accounts have public shared posts. They are not there is a option on Facebook where you can limit your audience. You can either make it to your friends or friends of friends or close friends, you can customize and choose with whom you can share the information. So most of these fake Facebook accounts do not have customized connection, access to information. They are mostly public posts which can be accessed by everyone, and the names which are used are mostly common names which are more common in Sri Lanka, like Pereira or Silva or whatever. But no offense to anyone who has that surname, but that is usually how these the phases behind fake accounts work. And also one of the major signs that you can identify is the lack of a profile picture, and also not having or having a profile picture but mostly of cartoon characters or some actor or a celebrity which can easily be downloaded from internet. So that should give you some red lights, and that should flag some concerns when you're looking at that fake Facebook profile. So I
Thank you.
think that is something that I felt should mention. Yes.
Thanks for the info, Tanushi. There's a question which has come up. But Sri Lanka related. Does Sri Lankan police have authority to get fake account details from Facebook? Alan?
Interesting question, but we don't have any police officers here. But what I would say is that yes, Sri Lankan police now, depending on the laws that we have, depending on the privacy laws of Facebook, you can always request. There is a court order that needs to be submitted, and if the process are being followed, um, and that agrees the terms and condition of Facebook, yes, certainly the details could be shared, should be shared with Facebook, because we've seen other countries who obtain information from Facebook to deal with criminal cases. So I don't see
Okay.
why our police will not be able to.
Maybe I could pose this question to Beatrice. Um,
I'm
in
shaking
your
my head, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so usually
Yeah.
social media providers, they have three classifications. So one, when you are only asking IPs and metadata, so they usually can do through police cooperation or direct to police, Facebook, right? Second is when you are requesting more content, then usually they need court order. And the third one is also when you are requesting the full details of the account, also need court order. And this third one and the second one usually also request an MLAT, a mutual legal agreement, sorry. But I actually I don't understand the Sri Lanka legislation, so we need to see if they are giving these details directly to police. The first one, right, the IP is used by the person who create the account, so you can identify the connection and then can find trace back to the person, and also the subscriber information. If they are, so we need to understand the legislation. If your legislation allows the police to go direct to Facebook to get these details, or if need to go through court order. But it's possible to get the information.
Thank you, Beatrice. Interesting. I've got a very interesting question. I don't know whether to pose it or not. How does a plagiarism software check and function in relation to social media trolling? Sorry, it's
Sachendra, have we
yes.
lost you? Or
I'm sorry. It's really annoying when the moderator has a really bad internet connection, isn't it? It's. I'm sorry for. So there was an interesting question which was posed. Maybe Archana, uh, let's see whether we can answer this in the most possible, most suitable manner. So curious question, I guess. How does a plagiarism software check and function in submitting research papers? Share any facts about that.
Maybe I will leave it to
So
Dayalan to just
I,
start with
I,
this for this.
I have doubts about the intention of the question.
That's so
uh,
maybe Dayalan, I would like you to start on
we'll
this because
maybe
to get some context around it.
I'll pose I'll get an answer on this on chat. I'll pose a different question which is coming in just now. Um, so how can we hold on? Okay, some questions are coming up just now. Are there laws against social media trolling to charge Facebook page and group admins? Are there laws against social media trolling to charge Facebook page and group admins? Um, Alan, you want to take this question or Beatrice? Are there laws against social
Anushi
media
would be
trolling?
better, isn't it?
This is a spin.
In yeah,
This is a leg spin.
um, in the Sri Lankan context, unfortunately, currently we do not have any laws and regulations which we can take action against these Facebook page and group admins. But I think I will be able to say this much, that we are in the process of developing laws, especially in relation to the social media regulations and making amendments to control spreading of fake news and hate speech. So that aspect I can say in relation to the Sri Lankan context, but maybe the international standards, I'm not sure whether the Budapest
Beatrice, you
Convention
want to
addresses those.
shed some light there on are there laws against social media trolling that you know of?
Yes, so this is actually depend of the country's internal legislation, right? So some country, because when saying something for in a country can be considered crime, for example, defamation, but in another country can just be a freedom of speech. So this is actually very internal to the country and need to understand how the country materialize treats that situation, and also if you have the right procedures to prosecute that person if this can be proved in the court. So I agree with Tanushi that is a work that needs to be done internally.
True enough. Okay, we have about 2 minutes more to wrap up. So finally, I would like to give this over to Archana, our evangelist, to let's end this interesting panel discussion with some thoughts, which is inspiring the participants, maybe to take action. So over to you, Archana.
I think it's been great to be part of all of the colleagues at BN. So I would say probably because I usually use this right. So since we talked about the career as a passion, so I would say first figure it out what is your passion with, because it's not just about getting inside any organization as a job, right? So today you could also think about being an entrepreneurs, because we have several business challenges in the areas of cybersecurity. To give you some food for the thought, as an example would be, we talk about all these technologies called artificial intelligence, internet of things, but there's a lot of things that is yet to be worked when it comes to a cybersecurity, right? What if your data itself is tampered, right? So the any data that then you are going to feed into your artificial intelligence or internet of things would all will be already would be fraud, right? So think about it. You could either start up something which can help these big companies to solve the business challenges, or you could think of totally a different product to design. So you have plenty ample of opportunities that each one of us have touched upon, and thank so I would say it's a gold mine opportunity. If you are hearing today, please get, I would strongly make you all people to come into the cybersecurity role, because there is a job everywhere you exist. Even if you're not inside an organization, you can start up your own company as well. So I think anybody else would like to add, Tanushi or Dayalan or Prithvi. So maybe.
I think we've spoken about it, but something that I would like to remind the audience: uh, enjoy the digital world. It's something to be enjoyed with, but making sure you think about your privacy and security. These are the two components that I always want to think of when you're on the online world, because we think of them in the offline world, but not in the online world. So think about measures that you can take to protect your account. That is one, security, and about things that you don't want to be exposed, things that you don't want to be exposed to the others, maybe about information about yourself or the information that you would like to share online. So there are controls which has been given on applications like privacy control. It's important that you apply them correctly, to make sure that your information is not out there and is with everyone. So it's important we follow that. So doing that, I think that would create a safer world, and also um, help you overcome with cyber incidents and cyberbullying and all sort of things. That's from me.
Thank you for that. And maybe from Beatrice, maybe 30 seconds of what you would like to close with.
Wow, very fast. So I just ask you to come to cybersecurity. We are very happy, very stressed, but very happy. And our mission is very noble, because we are supporting not only the business, but the whole the society, right? We see after the pandemic now, we are all interconnected. So I strongly encourage you to come to our field, and also especially to the girls. Please join us. We are needing talented girls to join us in the cybersecurity space.
Anushi, last 30 seconds, closing remarks.
Yes, actually, I just forgot to add something that regarding the social media trolling. He was talking about social media trolling, and even though we don't have direct laws and regulations governing social media defamation per se, there is defamatory actions that we can take in district courts, but those are not criminal offenses; these are only civil offenses. But they are being actually discussions are underway to on how to address defamation in cyberspace, and how to create laws and to interpret laws in relation to that subject. This was actually something which was discussed a couple of weeks back in the National Law Conference. So that is something that is being in the development stage. That's something that I wanted to inform. And also
I will take that as your closing remarks, Tanushi, because
yes, yes,
before we
please.
get kicked out of this
Okay.
panel discussion, Thank you so much. So much, panelists. Beatrice, Archana, Tanushi, Dayalan. It's been wonderful, and hope the participants gained knowledge, plus also were motivated to action through leadership, innovation.
Lost you again. I hope he'll be with us soon. So.
Maybe we can do the. We
I
can
don't
do
want
the
to jump in.
closing
I hope
remarks,
that
maybe.
I think
For him.
Sachin should join us.
Oh, so you
Hopefully.
didn't hear my last part, so thanks
Oh,
a lot,
No.
guys.
they,
I just dropped off even in my closing remarks. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank
right.
you.
Thank